In this video, I'll walk through the RAG agent itself, and then I'll conclude with the presentation of how it works and the architecture behind it. So first, I'll start up the backend, and then once that's going, I'll start up my front end, and that brings me to the RAG agent. So right off the bat, I wanted to think about why someone might use an e-commerce RAG agent. And the quickest answer that came to me was that they want to know what they can buy for the purpose they want it for. And especially when it comes to like fridge parts and dishwasher parts, the names of these products aren't immediately obvious. They don't know the names of like or the codes of these products, but what they will know is things like that the dishwasher door doesn't work or that their fridge is making a strange noise. So a chatbot agent would be useful by guiding them to the right place, and after that, helping them install it. So first, I'll click one of my suggestions here. Let's say my fridge is making a strange noise, and we'll just give the RAG agent a little time to think and come up with an answer. The first one does take a while, so we're just going to let that process through the information first. Okay, great. So it gives us some suggestions on what might be the case. It could be, a broken bin, it could be some retainer bars, water dispensers, and other common causes. Let's say reading through these and I'm like, wow, my water dispenser sounds like it. Let's say my water dispenser is broken, which may have caused the noise. I would like to buy, and let's say we want to buy this one that is suggested. Okay, cool. And then it'll give us a card on the product itself. If I press view details, it'll bring me to the exact product on the Part Select website, and I'll be able to purchase it here, or I can add it to my cart in here, and it'll keep track of the things I'm interested in buying. And here, it'll say why it's good for me, it'll reduce the noise, improve my water quality, etc., etc. Let's say let's say I don't know how to install it. How will I install the refrigerator water filter? And it says here some installation steps, some important notes. Yeah, just looking through the installation steps, it's very detailed. It gives you like what your first step should be, locating the filter, which way to turn it, how to prepare the filter, etc., etc. And then, like Amazon, once you're done with this, it'll suggest you a similar product. Like for example, in Amazon, let's say I order a bracelet. At the end, it'll suggest like a second bracelet just to keep me in the loop, just to keep me like interested in what I'm looking at, and suggest another product if I want one of the same. So it'll suggest this one. Let's say I want this one as well. I'll add it to my cart, and then I want to turn the focus here to the shopping cart abilities. So here it keeps track of the subtotals by just doing a simple sum of the prices of the objects. And then I'm allowed to put in a customized tax rate. And New York is 8.75, I believe, and it'll calculate that for me. And this way it's like super easy to keep track of how much I'm spending, make sure I'm under my budget. So yeah, and I can ask this for pretty much any product that I put in the data set. And every time it pulls up with a card, I have the ability to add it to my shopping cart. And I can also ask things such as anything that's basically in detail in here or in the training data, such as like, is this compatible with model number XYZ? How do I install it? So forth. So that's the RAG agent itself. There's a bunch of more functionalities. I encourage you to run it locally and test it yourself. And here's the part 2 of the video. I already showed the functionality. Here I'm going to show a slideshow of the architecture and the logic behind building my RAG agent. So the first step in building a RAG agent like this is to collect our data, and we have some following options. Option A, this is the one I usually go for, is to find an open API from the website to request JSON data on the products. If that doesn't work, there's web scraping, and there's two ways to web scrape. One is to web scrape all the product data and store it in a database so we interact with it locally. Another way is to web scrape only the specified product that the user searches. So if I search a water filter, I will only scrape a water filter upon that request. And lastly, option D is creating synthetic data or data that's similar to the format on the website. So for option A, after doing a quick look at the website itself, they didn't have a publicly available open API. So it wasn't as simple as an API call to get the data. Then I tried options B and C to web scrape. And very typical with e-commerce websites, they'll set up a firewall that doesn't let you web scrape from that website. And that's usually just a security concern. Right here. Yeah, so you'll find like websites such as PartSelect, Amazon, eBay, they'll prevent clients from web scraping from their websites. And when I came across this issue, I also tried web scraping with a product called Selenium. And basically what Selenium does is it web scrapes by mimicking human behavior and masking its automation. But even still, it's not able to bypass the website security. So with these two options unavailable, I decided to manually create the dataset. So I gathered information from the website on the most popular products in both the dishwasher and refrigerator categories, and I formatted it into the JSON here with these keys included. From there was the data vectorization, but before we vectorize the data, I converted it into a bunch of question answer pairs. Each question and answer extracting a piece of semantic knowledge from the data set. And essentially, I captured every single piece of semantic knowledge from the data set in the form of a question answer pair using OpenAI. And then the next step was to turn it into the embeddings. And since DeepSeek doesn't support this functionality yet, I had to use OpenAI for that as well. And then once the embeddings were created, they were stored in the FAISS. So the architecture has three main components. The first one being the knowledge base. That's pretty self-explanatory. That's just the data set and where all the vectorized data were stored. Then is the backend service. And this was the most important part of the project. It basically handles all the queries, retrieves relevant information, and manages the pipeline. And lastly is the front end, which is just the chat interface, the shopping cart functionality, the links to the website itself, and everything simple on the front end. So here is the full architecture map. It looks a little jumbled, but let me walk you through it. Everything in this top left corner happens once, right at the beginning when you start the program for the first time. In the program, there's the JSON that's this right here. That's what it looks like. That's the JSON for all the products. It's fed into OpenAI, which converts it into QA pairs, fed back into OpenAI again, which turns it into embeddings, and that's put into the FAISS. So when the user prompts a query into the RAG agent, it sends the query into OpenAI, which converts it into a query embedding, and then using that, that's fed into FAISS, and that's used to search for the QA pair embeddings that are the most relevant. So these relevant QA pair embeddings are then seen as context, and that context is sent into DeepSeek along with the query, and DeepSeek creates the final answer using this context and the question from the user itself. This final answer is sent back to the front end and returned to the user. The user will repeat the cycle, and this cycle up here will repeat. So everything up here only happened once. So next is just the back end and the front end, and I've pretty much explained this as well. So I'll just run through it very quickly. Back end is a RAG pipeline. We first generate all the context and the query into embeddings, and then using the FAISS, we gathered the necessary context and most relevant context, and all that's sent to DeepSeek to generate a response. This I already explained. And front end, it's basically everything you saw earlier. You have the product card that has the price, the link to the website, the ability to add it to the cart, and you also have the chat interface where you can communicate with the LLM itself. And yeah, that's the Reg Agent. Feel free to run it locally. You just need a OpenAI API key as well as a DeepSeek API key, and everything should run smoothly.